The film shares the life of many Hispanic students being discriminated in public education. It takes place in Driscoll, Texas, where Hispanic children were forced into structural programs where they had to repeat first grade several times. This preserved a very structured place which discouraged Hispanic kids from a very young age not getting quality education. The school goal was to Americanize by de-Mexicanizing the schools. This created an environment where Hispanic students were discouraged from speaking Spanish and subjected to corporal punishment and many rules and regulations. They were also not able to play in recess and faced many disturbing issues that are still kept with them this day. Carmen Aleman, which was 7 years old when she testified, shares a story where she felt the inequality and discrimination towards her because of her race. She had asked politely in English to go to the restroom. The teacher purposely not let her go. Carmen, who was only in elementary, defecated herself in front of the whole class and was sent home. This type of event shows the hatred and discrimination that these young children had to face based on their race and nationality. Carmen skipped school the next day after the incident and was forced to face this embarrassment for the rest of her school life, something that is simply could have been stopped by the teacher just allowing her to go to the restroom. Many other Latino students face discrimination by being put in special education classes because they were wrongly diagnosed with having language deficiencies. The school
Gender
system
and Sexuality in Stolen Education. In the book Race and Gender and Sexuality and Social Class by Ferguson had said one of the most significant features of white privilege is that those who experience it do not have to think about it. People of color are confronted with the reality of inequality and oppression on a daily basis, but those who experience privilege are often unaware of it and do not see how it impacts their own lives. Page 479. In Stolen Education, many administrators put Hispanic students into first grade 3 times. Their third counterclaim when they went to court was if both the children who do and the children who do not speak and understand the English language upon first entering school are required to be placed in the same classroom, all of such children will be retarded. I think many administrators didn't understand what they were doing. They thought it was best to separate the children into 3 first grade classrooms, but children weren't getting the same education, and it had really impacted their lives. In the book, Ferguson had found a piece from Dancing with the Ghosts. Ross had said, until we realize that Native people have a highly developed, formal, but radically different set of cultural imperatives, we are likely to continue to misinterpreting their acts, misperceiving the real problems they face, and imposing through government policies potentially harmful remedies. This relates to what Hispanic students faced in the schools. Many didn't understand their cultural or didn't understand their language. They wanted to de-Mexicanize the whole school and make it as Americanized as possible. They were punished and got privilege taken away from them for speaking Spanish. It was hard to hear that it impacted many lives, and a lot of them didn't finish high school.
Students who knew Spanish repeat first grade several times without having them tested for English proficiency. Many of the students knew English and spoke it very well, but were not given the same opportunity as the white kids because of who they were on the social scale. McIntosh, in her article White Privilege Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack, talks about how she never saw herself as a racist because she was taught to recognize racism only in individual acts of meanness by members of her society and never as an indivisible system of racial dominance. She also mentions that males, especially white males, have an unconsciousness to their privilege, so the school thinking they were helping them by holding them back was not in practice of equity or equality, because they were never given the same opportunity to voice or show what they really knew in English. Social class and access to education go hand in hand. There are usually more opportunities for higher education in higher class attending schools rather than not. Again, the system is geared to keep you in what you have known from birth. Since the middle class are given the choice to challenge the status quo and develop and express their own personal interest, there are many more opportunities for growth and for continued higher education. Race, ethnicity, and social class. Ability is the same as tracking, which is the grouping of children together based on their talents in the classroom. However, oftentimes it is just based on their race. As a student continues to the next level of schooling, they are just known based on their level of ability. This leads to low expectancy of students' performance by teachers and administrators, leading to the success rate of graduation for lower status kids to decrease. In stolen education, they are segregated schools based on language and race. In the video, Alaman talks to a woman, Marcelina, about how she felt talking in front of the school board. When she became a mom, she became very involved in their education because she did not want what happened to her in school happen to them. Since back when she was in school, they would place Spanish speakers in special education because they could not understand the language. The school did not want for them to taint the English speakers regardless of their proficiency. Ability can be a good thing if it was used correctly. Equity in the classroom is very needed so that every student is able to feel equal to everyone no matter race or other circumstances.
In conclusion, what we talked about today was the documentary Stolen Education, and it talks about how these first graders in this school district were being put into 3 different levels because they had a very large Mexican-American population and they wanted to hold some of them back. So they made those 3 separate grades of first grade just to make sure that these people were left behind. And I think learning about all of this now, with learning about race and racial discrimination, like gender discrimination, stuff like that, it makes you really open your eyes and say, hey, like, we really need to be protecting these students, making sure that they are okay, and that these school districts need a little bit more of rules and regulations and making sure that other students aren't being left behind before others. That's what's important, and that's why it's so important that we watch this documentary to learn from our mistakes and keep moving forward.